Yeah, I think the argument from the Maturana perspective is the only way we can address that is through language.
Well, unless you do it through pheromones or something like that.
No, but we have to use language to talk about it.
Body language is language.
But I think Jeremy's point is a real good one, which is we can act on the information that we get from pheromones without talking about it.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes, so we're perturbed.
Yes.
Yes.
We are perturbed and we take an action as a result of the message that we get from those pheromones.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
But we don't need to be in language to be perturbed.
Nor to act.
No. Yeah.
So I'm looking for that other thing. Just like before, I think we had this conversation before that we can walk into a room, or we can walk into a restaurant, or walk into a hotel, which I'm sure you do a lot, and we know the mood.
Yeah.
Okay, and we don't know that through language. We haven't talked to anybody. We walk in and we know that through some other way.
Okay. Through our experiences, we've learned to distinguish without necessarily articulating to get a feel, a mood for something.
Is that intuition? And isn't that working around us like a pheromone, but also like a processing?
Yeah. And what is it that is in the mood?
So
What is
that
it
the
picking up?
suggestion there is the definition of intuition is unarticulated
Well, I call
observation.
it the storehouse of our wisdom. It's what we know.
Yeah, I think this is where I'd look back and say that science doesn't address these connections. I would add yet. You know, the work that people are doing on the endocrine system and the chemical pathways in the bodies and how that all links together. I mean, we've got a long way to go before you can say, and that's why I think everybody's in a good mood today. I mean, there's huge layers of knowledge to be gone through, but I don't think science can't do it. It just hasn't got it.
Hasn't got it, yeah.
What we, and this is what I think, and this is all in interpretation, you could look at the chakras as one way of looking at the broad structure of the human system which can be perturbed. It's one component of like if we've got these emotional energy centres which we can't specifically cut open and see, but we accept that that's part of how we function, then that's part of our structure.
Except you can cut open and remove part of the gut and see what happens as a result of your ability to intuit things.
Yeah, but you can't actually see the heart chakra or the tribal chakra.
No, those are
But isn't the
labels
nervous
around
system,
fuzzy things that you can't touch because
Yeah.
we haven't figured out how to touch them.
but isn't the nervous system feeding that with information constantly anyway, and isn't that part of our way of being?
Well, there's a whole new area that's developed, and see, paper 16 is a paper on intuition in this level, but there's a whole new area that's developed that I didn't know about and isn't in there, called the second brain, which is the gut.
Mm.
So that's just a whole new emergence about understanding how we come to know anything that I do think is consistent with the notion of the nervous
It's very
system.
difficult because it becomes so sort of self-referencing, and you end up having to say, I think, therefore I am. You can't. How do you see yourself thinking? I mean, it's difficult.
So what I want to suggest, I appreciate that this will open up a lot of questions. If you're happy just to be in the questions and read the papers and see what gets answered, what doesn't get answered, and then email me and I can obviously try and respond, and we can have a longer discussion, like about 3 hours when we get back together in September. I want to close with a lengthy quote. This is Maturana's latest book called The Origins of Humanness in the Biology of Love.
You don't have to go to your bedroom again, do we?
No. Uncle Al's going to
Just
do
checking.
bedtime reading. So,
Good loud voice for the camera, please.
we modern human beings frequently live in strife with each other and suffer for it. Sorry, it's the word suffer here. War and peace seem to be basic polar elements of human relations, yet we are not happy in this manner of living in mutual negation. We dislike it. Moreover, in disliking this manner of living, we become ill as individuals, or we think that humanity is ill and has been ill for a long time. In the midst of this unhappiness, we discover, as we have discovered many times previously, that we have been living in blindness about others, about nature, about justice, about collaboration. As we realise we do not like this, we invent and have invented on many occasions religious and political systems in which peace and love are to prevail, or we've invented humanistic philosophies and economic theories that are intended to save human beings from mutual exploitation and abuse. Most of the time our efforts have failed. Our humanising paradigms have ended up being dehumanising, and the religious and political systems that we invented with the intent of generating human well-being became sources of tyrannies. But we've always tried again. How come that we try again? How is it that we've failed and yet try again? How is it that human beings care for each other, even though we live now and have lived for the last 5,000 or 6,000 years of our history in a manner wherein we frequently deny each other through competition, war, abuse, and mutual manipulation? Daily life shows us that even though we live in war and hurt each other, we are loving animals that become bodily and psychically ill when deprived of love, and that love is both the first medicine and the fundament for the recovery of somatic and psychic health. We are love-dependent animals at all ages. Indeed, most if not all human suffering arises in the negation of love and is cured through the restoration of love. Now, to me, part of Maturana is not, it's his ideas, what he's developed. But for me, what he offers is what I call his spirit about the human condition, that I think is a core part, and I love to continue to be a core part of ontological coaching. How do we live in relationship with each other is a critical issue, I think, that we face, as well as how do we live in relationship with the non-human world. There's something increasingly that's emerging. And his ideas are not the total answer, but maybe they're offering a particular perspective that could help shift us as observers in ways that could be constructive. One commentator on Maturana has said he has produced a conceptual edifice. So there's quite a lot in it, but the invitation is through papers 14 and 15 to wander through it. Don't try and kind of get it, just allow it, whatever comes to you to come to you. Read it back to front, read a section, don't read it linearly if you don't want to. Basically, play with it, see what sort of relationship you can develop with the material. And we'll see what perturbing has happened when we come together in September.
Could you make me an audio book and send it and I'll listen?
Sure.
Okay, so thanks for listening, participating.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave Maturana, leave the public workshop preparation, and reorient ourselves to coaching.
So pretty much what you've gone through on the board is in a lot more.
I've got it in more detail in there, just as a sketch, and I've also, I presented a paper a number of years ago to a conference at Sydney Uni, where I drew on the essence of Maturana's ideas to try and distinguish ontological coaching as the basis for a professional approach. So that's, I've just taken pieces out of that to give you a bit of a nutshell summary.
So how old is his study? Would you put a year or a sort of age on it?
Yes.
Carbon dating.
He did the article on the frog in 1958, and the article on the pigeons was in 1968.
Oh, okay. Has he done anything more recently?
Oh yeah, he's written heaps. Yeah. And if you want to,
Anything experimentally or recently?
no. Since the pigeon experiment, it's more been building the logic, the theory as a logical construct.
Has anybody else Done.